Tonight on News 5 Live, former GM of Belize Infrastructure Limited responds and says that bill was not, is not, never been connected to SmartStream. But they did purge some records before 2019. A delivery truck driver is the target of a mid-morning shooting in Belize City. The Prime Minister weighs in on budget consultation and whether they propose pay cuts for public service. And Maya farmers getting farming lessons at a luxury resort will show you their sustainable farming experience. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
It's a fact that you can access unlimited services with Smart. Tired of being measured or cut off when you need to be connected? It's a fact that when
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live from Monday, February 8th. I am Marlene Cuellar. On Friday, Cayo South Area Representative and the Minister of Infrastructure Development and Housing, Julius Espat, made revelations into Belize Infrastructure Limited's inner workings. The Barrow administration created Bill, and on Friday, Minister Espat alleged that Bill was a vehicle used for the, quote, misappropriation of public monies without public scrutiny, unquote. According to Minister Espat, an investigation has been launched into the operations and transactions of Bill. Espat revealed that Bill was able to access the government's smart stream, which contains detailed, confidential financial information that only finance officers should have access to. Espat also revealed that a letter dated January 22nd sent by Sandra Cuello of Bill to the director at the ministry, Ray Guerrera, states that after completion of yearly external audits, only operational records were purged prior to 2019. Following Espat's statements in the House, former General Manager of Bill, Christine Maestre, released a 3-page response. In the statement, Maestre says that Bill, quote, was not, is not, nor ever has been connected to the government SmartStream platform, unquote. According to Maestre, she has also never engaged in a partnership with International Environments Limited. As to the accusations of the general manager making purchases without approval, Maestre says that is also incorrect. As for the purging of operational records, Maestre wrote on the letter that she was unaware of the disposal of operations. News 5 reached out to Maestre for further comments, but our request went unanswered. And in an interview this morning on Open Your Eyes, Minister Espat kept his position, notwithstanding Maestre's clarification.
Our IT technicians went in from the ministry in Belmopan to the offices, and they found the connection, and they're the ones that gave us the report. So you will have, everybody has to have the right to a defense. I don't have a problem with that. But the fact is that the physical line is there. The fact is that they could have connected because they have specific passes, and that is how we were alerted. It's not that I have made this up. We get reports from professionals within the ministry, and that's why it was brought up. It was brought up because it's a concern. It was brought up because Bill has been running wild with our money, meaning the people's money, for too long. Over $100 million and minimal oversight is something that we believe is wrong. And so, yes, you will have opposing views as to if this was done or if that was done. But the end result is you spent over $100 million. You spent over $100 million on projects that, in our opinion, was overvalued, were in layman terms you would call bloated contracts. And the reality is 80% of those contracts were given to one single firm.
This week is a critical week for the Briceño administration as they head into budget consultations with the unions. The past and new administrations have had to borrow $1 million a day to keep on paying the staggering public sector wage bill. At the same time, the Briceño administration has publicly stated that they do not support retrenchment. There has been much speculation that a pay cut is soon to come for public servants. And on Friday, 2 letters purportedly from the Belize Business Bureau were widely circulated. The first stated, quote, "We fully support the government's decision to implement a wage reduction of 15% across the board," unquote. A few hours later, after the public began debating the issue online, another version of the letter circulated with that one line reading, "BBB is recommending a wage reduction of 15%, unquote. The government maintains that the first letter was false. Prime Minister John Briceño told News 5 that the proposal was not put forth by GOB, but is it under consideration?
That is not a proposal from the government. What we have been doing, we've said that we're going to have consultations, and we're doing consultations. And consultations means that you present the facts. These are the facts, this is in front of us now. You tell us, what are your ideas as to how we could close this gap? Fact, the UDP left us with a deficit of $500 million. It took previous governments from 1981 to 2008 for us to borrow more than $500 million. The UDP government has left us in a hole of $500 million in 1 year. We are short of over $300 million, and the UDP expected to collect over $1.1 billion. We're barely getting to $800 million. There's a $300 million short. Of every dollar that we collect right now, we're using 83 cents to be able to pay salaries to the teachers and to the public servants and to pay the pensions. What we can do to close this $500 million gap, we can't do that this coming year because we don't have any more money. So we have to find a way how we can close that deficit, but at the same time to be able to help our poor people, to be able to create more jobs, to open up the economy, finding ways how we can improve and increase investments in Belize. That is the only way we can move ahead.
And with the debate on wage reductions now in the public discourse following the versions 1 and 2 of the Belize Business Bureau letter, the Public Service Union expressed their concern about the possible wage reduction. The unions will be participating in a budget consultation meeting with the government of Belize this Wednesday. According to a release from the PSU, it is looking forward to giving meaningful input to assist government in bridging the long-existing budget deficit. The PSU nonetheless mentions that while it is fully cognizant of the dire financial constraints that the government is in, it rejects any attack on public officers' salary. Meanwhile, the executive of the BNTU met over the weekend in preparation for its upcoming consultation with the government.
When we finish all of those consultations, we're going to put that together and see how best we could start to move Belize into the path of financial sustainability, and where we can protect the Belize dollar so that we do not have a devaluation, and that we could continue to have investments and creating jobs for Belizean people. The government, the people of this country elected us not to come with excuses or to cry, but to create opportunities. We are a party and a government that works, and we are going to ensure that we can address these fundamental issues that the UDP just left us almost next to bankruptcy.
So they keep your job with a percentage cut rather than losing your job? That would be the battle that you guys would have to...
Well, that is something when we meet with the unions, we will discuss. Everything is on the table, and we're going to see what is it that they are going to recommend. We more than anything else, we want to see what is their recommendation.
As a part of cutting that wage bill, all ministers of government are on a 10% salary cut. Today, during Open Your Eyes morning show, Minister of Infrastructure Julius Sispat shared his personal views on reducing the wage bill.
I don't think anybody wants to be in a position to cut salaries. Private sector, public sector, nobody wants their salaries to be cut. It's the most difficult thing anybody can even imagine. And so I don't have a position, except it hurts my heart to even think of it. I believe we have other ways to minimize costs. I believe you have people that are being paid that don't go to work. So I think I would start there. You have people that have a job but don't work. Meaning you have the ones that are being paid and they don't show up at all. So that's kind of obvious. Then you have the ones that are being paid and sit at a desk and do absolutely nothing. And you know why. And so I would also go in that direction. And then you have to look at efficiency of how you run a business.
The National Trade Union Congress of Belize will be in that meeting with Deputy Prime Minister Cordell Hyde, Education Minister Francis Fonseca, and the Public Service, Constitutional and Political Reform Henry Usher for the budget consultation. The meeting is scheduled to take place on Friday as part of Briceño's administration's consultations with different stakeholders ahead of March's budget presentation. A release from the umbrella union says that, quote, the inclusion of the National Trade Union Congress and other social partners in the proposed budget planning is significant, unquote. The NTUCB is calling on the government to disseminate necessary information to the participants of this meeting to ensure informed participation. The NTUCB also encourages social partners and all stakeholders to maintain civil discourse and denounce bias and harmful rhetoric. The NTUCB says that the reform of the economy should take precedence and not be overshadowed by harmful political propaganda. And as those critical budget consultations continue, the Briceño administration is hoping for compromise from the unions. The new administration, still within its first 100 days in office, must figure out how to dig the country out of the massive financial crisis that they've inherited. In responding to a question about Norteños feeling abandoned over the last 12 years, Prime Minister John Briceño paints a picture of Belize's fragile economy. Briceño places the blame solely on the Barrow administration.
The UDP neglected the entire country, but especially also in the north, that we're so far from Belize City and Belmopan, where the powers that be lived. And the previous era representative had no love and attention for Corozal and the UDP leaders, including the candidate that now dares to run against LV. They should be ashamed. They're supposed to hide their face, because after the government has squandered over $1 billion apart from the taxes, this government, the UDP, spent over $1 billion, remember, a year for almost 13 years. And look at what they did for Corozal district. Look at what they did for Corozal town. Absolutely nothing.
After the break, we'll take you on the campaign trail with the Corozal Bay by-election candidates. A man was shot in Belize City today. It happened in broad daylight, and the victim has been identified as Jose Santos, a 43-year-old truck driver of 8 Miles. Santos was inside a delivery truck on Mahogany Street when he was shot by a man on a bicycle. News 5 was first on the scene, and reporter Hippolyta Novella has the story.
Several shots were fired in broad daylight. A security camera captures the moment the shooter pounced and the moment he rode away on his bicycle. The victim has been identified as 43-year-old Jose Santos, a driver of the 8 Miles community. He was in this yellow delivery truck parked on Mahogany Street in front of Tau Tau when the shooter targeted him. At 10:14, the security camera records the truck parking. Seconds later, the delivery man exits the passenger seat. Santos remains in the driver's seat as pedestrians walk by. Suddenly, the sound of gunshots disrupts the business on Mahogany Street. Witnesses quickly run as the shooter rides away. It will be minutes after that Santos is rushed to the hospital. The passenger seat left stained with blood. Police quickly arrive and the hunt for the shooter ensues. Scenes of crime technicians canvass the crime scene, collecting evidence as pedestrians look on in shock at the brazen broad light attempt on Santos's life. On Carnation Street, not far from the shooting, investigators found a black 9mm firearm with 1 live round. Investigators believe this was the shooter's gun. And while Santos remains in a stable condition, investigators are trying to figure out if this was an armed robbery turned shooting or a direct hit on Santos. Reporting for News 5, Hippolyta Novello.
Why would police shoot an elderly man? That's the question that the media tried to get answers to today. 67-year-old Lionel Llewellyn Arnold Sr. is in a stable condition at the KHMH. Arnold Sr. was shot once by a Belize City police officer on Friday night on Lakeview Street. According to the officer commanding Professional Standards Branch, Senior Superintendent of Police Dwayne Sutherland, the shooting resulted from a struggle. Sutherland reported today that the police's account is that they were on patrol when they stopped to search Lionel Arnold Jr. And it was during that search that his father, Arnold Sr., got involved. Police say that during the struggle, a shot was fired and Arnold Sr. was shot. Sutherland says that the investigation is still early at this stage, but if the evidence proves that the officers used excessive force, then charges will be levied.
The police attention was drawn to 2 persons. As a result, the police exited their vehicles, came out and conducted a search. During the process of the search, a struggle ensued between the gentleman that they were searching, who was learned to be Lionel Arnold Jr. Eventually, his father, who is Lionel Arnold Sr., came and he also intervened. During the struggle, a single shot was fired by one of the officers, which injured Mr. Lionel Arnold Sr. in the right thigh. He was taken to the Corozal Memorial Hospital for treatment.
You know, by any chance, do you have any information as to how serious that injury is, sir?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, he's in a stable condition. This investigation is in its preliminary stage. And so what I can tell you is that when the investigation is concluded, if it is that there's evidence to charge the officer, he will be held accountable.
Sir, no, I think one of the biggest questions those of us who weren't there and have received the information is looking at and asking, why is it that an officer of a paramilitary unit would draw his weapon and shoot a gentleman who's in his 60s?
Well, like what I said, there was a struggle. We are still investigating the matter. We are yet to get a formal statement from both Mr. Lionel Arnold Jr. and Sr. And at the end of the conclusion of our investigation, we will then decide how we'll proceed with the matter based on the evidence that we get.
What were the officers looking for when they decided to search, sir?
At this point in time, I won't go into detail with that, but the officers exited their vehicle and were conducting a search on this male individual.
Today, the People's United Party announced that all of its 9 municipal slates for the March 3rd elections had been finalized. The final rounds of conventions for the municipal elections were held in the South over the weekend. On Saturday, 124 delegates participated in Punta Gorda's convention and the elected mayoral candidate Charles Salgado. Along with Salgado, Mary Palacio, Moses Cal, Arnold Williams, Ulysses Guy, Roberto Vires, and Malcolm Galvez were selected as councillor candidates. On Sunday in Dangriga, Robert Mariano was elected as the PUP's mayoral candidate. The councillors elected for Mariano's slate are Gilroy Howard Flores, Martha Robinson, Alfred Petillo, Liberato Teul, John Edwin Flores, and Jerris Valentine Jr. Meanwhile, in Corozal, Mayor Rigoberto Velez and his councillor candidates were endorsed in a virtual convention. We'll have more on that race shortly. But first, News 5 caught up with Prime Minister John Briceño in Corozal town, where he was on the campaign trail with the candidates.
I think the thing I enjoy most is campaigning. I love being on the campaign trail, meeting people, talking to them, joking with them, and then answering the serious questions that they may have and explaining them the challenges that is in front of us. So it's something that I enjoy, it's something that I love, it's something that energizes me. But I did not have to do much work because both LV and Rigo have been doing a fantastic job, and so people were already expecting us, and I think that people have already decided that they want to continue that work.
Following this weekend's conventions, the two major political parties have finalized all their slates to contest the March 3rd municipal elections. Nomination day is scheduled for Monday, February 15th. A new mayoral candidate has emerged in the capital city. Today, Ralston Fraser launched his candidacy as an independent mayoral candidate for Belmopan. Fraser has served as a UDP councillor and deputy mayor of Belmopan and more recently as the city administrator. The now independent candidate believes that his 2 terms in Belmopan City Hall have prepared him for the mayoral seat. He is the 3rd mayoral candidate, with Jacqueline Burns contesting for the UDP and Sharon Palacio for the PUP. Here's a snippet from his presentation to the media today in the capital.
My decision to have done this was basically, and to be quite honest, in compliance with what I feel the call on my life is at this point in time. We all know from the national level and throughout, there is rampant corruption in our political arena. It is absolutely very sad. And by the way, I do not consider myself a politician. I am not looking for a career in politics. I am simply responding to what I feel is the call on my life at this point in time. But being in the belly of the whale, or the belly of the beast, as you put it, I have seen some stuff from a distance. And I have in my own mind confirmed that what I was thinking before I entered this arena is indeed true. Maybe not 100% accurate, but you know how we say that Belize, and also Daniel, so I feel that the honesty and transparency that the people on a national basis, and particularly in this context Belmopan, have been calling for, can only come when you get it from someone or some people who can separate themselves from party politics without holding any grudge.
But one man who wasn't enthusiastic about Fraser's candidacy is former area representative John Saldivar. He took to Facebook today to cast aspersions on Fraser, claiming that there are skeletons in Fraser's closet. Saldivar pointed out that Fraser's chances of becoming mayor are slim to none. Saldivar isn't happy that Fraser, who once ran under the UDP banner, is now running as an independent, a move he sees as a direct threat to the UDP's Jacqueline Burns. In his Facebook post, he says, quote, "He has decided to be spiteful and try to hurt the chances of Jackie Burns becoming the first female mayor of Belmopan. I am making this post because I am tired of ungrateful people. I am tired of people who feel entitled. and I am tired of self-righteous people, unquote. But if the result of the general election in Belmopan is anything to go by, the UDP shouldn't fare an independent. As the independent, a former UDP councillor, didn't factor into the race 3 months ago. The race was between the UDP and PUP. Things are heating up in the north in Corozal, where on March 3rd, voters will simultaneously select a new area rep for the Corozal Bay Division and Town Council. That northern town currently has a PUP council led by Rigoberto Vellas. Vellas says their goal is to retain control over the local government, forging political alignment with the new PUP central government. But the UDP slate is not given up so easily. Former UDP councillor Roger Arana has created a team that he feels can unseat the PUP-7. As the municipal elections are less than 4 weeks away, we headed north to follow both teams on the campaign trail in Corozal town. News 5's Dwayne Moody reports.
Incumbent PUP Mayor Rigoberto Vellas has a new slate heading into the municipal elections on March 3rd. Along with Vellas are 3 returning councillor candidates and 3 new faces who are taking on the challenge. For 15 years, the town was under a UDP council until 2018, when Vellas and his PUP team broke that trend. But will the new PUP-7 under the leadership of Vellas be returned to office?
We're not trying to keep the PUP. We did that in 2018. And we have been doing our work since then. So I am very confident that the PUP will remain as a town council. No? The campaign trail has been going very positive, Dwayne. People are very happy that we got a change of government in November. No? And people are more happy that they will finally, Corozal will finally get what they have wanted ever since, which is a PUP town council with a PUP central government.
Former 2-term UDP councillor Roger Arana of Altamira is contesting the 2021 municipals, this time as the mayoral candidate seeking to unseat Vellas. He believes his slate of men and women is the best fit to take the town back to its glory.
I am privileged to have worked at the Corozal Town Council before. I, along with 3 of my other candidates, have worked at the Town Council. So we have that experience of that knowledge of how the Town Council functions. So definitely we are sure that we can bring another victory to the party.
Since last year, both slates have been on the campaign trail, meeting with residents as best they could during these COVID times to get a sense of their concerns and share their manifesto ideas and plans for the municipality if selected as the new local government. Joblessness, infrastructure, and garbage remain among the issues plaguing the town.
Much of it has been infrastructure, the conditions of the streets, picking up of garbage, and it's not for me to criticize, but the people have seen it themselves, that this present administration have practically neglected the Corozal. Corozal has always boasted to be the #1 cleanest and safest town in the country, so we definitely will do our best to work on that.
What we're planning to do now, after March, is making sure that we hit the grounds with infrastructure, with drains, and then be creative in making sure that we create job opportunities for our young people. Creative like the water park, a new water taxi. Those things give life to the economy again, and that's our vision. Fix infrastructure and create jobs opportunities for our people.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
And it is now official. Elvia Vega Samos is the new PUP standard bearer that will be going head-to-head against Gilberto Campos of the UDP for Corozal Bay. The division was left vacant by former area rep David Vega, who died 1 month after being elected to the post. The by-election will be held simultaneously on March 3rd and will see some 5,410 registered voters go to the polls to select who will represent them at the House of Representatives. News 5 got exclusive interviews with both candidates on the campaign trail in the Bay.
The race to elect a replacement for former Corozal Bay Area Representative David Dido Vega is on. Over the weekend, his sister and former campaign manager, Elvia Vega Samos, was officially endorsed by the PUP in a ceremony in that northern municipality as the standard bearer for the party. Vega is a teacher, a wife, and a mother of 2 children.
I truly believe that I have the skills necessary to represent the people of Corozal. I have been asked before, you know, Elvie, is that what you really want? And my answer has always been to them, yes, I know it's a difficult job, but I know it's not impossible doing. I am ready to serve the people because it is all about service to the people. I want to represent the people. I know the ills in our society. I know that much can be done for Corozal.
Vega will be going up against former Corozal Town Mayor Gilberto Campos, who is no stranger to politics, having served 4 consecutive terms as mayor under the UDP banner. Campos is confident, despite the air of abandonment amongst residents left behind by his political predecessor, Pablo Marin. So following a mere 1 month under a Blue Era rep, will the Bay return to the UDP?
It gives Corozal Bay the opportunity to go back red in a short time. And I have to mention that this present administration had no honeymoon with the people. They got straight into war. And we have seen the different events unfolding before our eyes. We're talking about the epic levels of nepotism within the ministries. We're talking about salary cuts, about the pantry program being ended, and I could go on and on and on. But the people, most importantly in Corozal Bay, will be giving the opportunity to someone that has served them in the past and did serve them well.
So why would the over 5,000 registered constituents vote for Vega or Campos?
Leadership that is willing to make their voice be heard in Belmopan, especially at times like these. We all know the hardships that we're going through, and Corozal Bay is no exception to the rest of the country. I don't want to say what the past area rep did or didn't do. I will tell you one thing is that Gilberto Campos is Gilberto Campos. It's not that I am just throwing my hat into this race. I have already a relationship with the Corozal Bay voters. It's something that has been going on ever since 2006 when first selected. And again, we have been listening to the cries of the people. They said, everybody for win, hardly anybody to win, especially the Corozal.
Corozal is still the 2nd poorest district in the country. Now that needs to change, Dwayne. We need to bring ideas. We need to bring new things to Corozal, more job opportunities, education. We need to empower our people. And many times people believe that a leader is somebody that has power. No, a true leader is someone that can empower others. I know my brother has given me that foundation, you know, walking along with him, campaigning with him. And I have been told that it is sympathy votes that I am looking for. In no way I am looking for sympathy votes, Dwayne. I bring so much to the table. I, being a woman, I know the hardships that women have as well in our society, the double standards in our society, and I am willing to stand up for women and for everybody in our community.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
And all several persons had applied for the job to replace now deceased David Dido Vega as Corozal Bay area rep for the People's United Party. On Saturday night, the national executive of the PUP came out en masse to officially endorse Elvia Vega Samos as its new standard bearer. Party leader and Prime Minister John Briceño was in attendance, and he told News 5 that he's confident that Vega Samos is the woman for the job.
In Corozal Bay, she's highly regarded. She's an educator. She had been working in the campaign all along. The campaign with her brother, her late brother Dido. So when Dido met his untimely death, something that shocked all of us, and I think we still have not gotten over that shocking loss. I think it was just a natural progression for then Elvie to offer herself to continue the work that her brother started. And once he has just been elected in 2020, he has been working in this division and campaigning since as early as 2012. So it was an 8-year journey. But unfortunately, our Lord had a different plan for him. So now we hope that the people from Corozal Bay will pass on that love support and trust that they had in him onto to LV, and I have every confidence that they will.
After the break, FCD takes ministers on flyover of the Chiquibul.
Meet Phil. Phil is at the grocery store to pick up
is free.
Yashe Conservation Trust and the European Nature Trust have partnered to promote climate-resilient farming techniques to ensure food security and protect natural resources such as forests. It has been more than a decade since YCT began to work with 80 farmers to get them to see the value in sustainable farming practices. So, as a part of educating farmers, Yashe and the European Nature Trust flew 10 farmers from Toledo to Blancanu Lodge in Cayo to learn more about establishing and maintaining an organic garden. Our news team joined the group on Friday and files this report.
The Maya Golden Landscape is 770,000 acres made up of protected areas, private lands, and Mayan Hispanic villages. It's a critical southern biological corridor because it's the only remaining broadleaf forest link between the Maya Mountains and the forested coastal plains of southern Belize. Inside this network of forests, farmers have been practicing traditional farming, that's slash-and-burn agriculture that is destructive to this natural forest. For about 12 years now, Yashe Conservation Trust has been teaching farmers about environmentally friendly farming practices to reduce deforestation and other harmful impacts on the environment. It's not always an easy sell, especially when slash and burn is all the farmers know. Farming practices passed down from generation to generation.
What we're basically promoting here is a different way of doing farming. Most of the farmers, the traditional practices that they utilize is more of the slash and burn. But what we're basically want to demonstrate here is that there is a different way of doing farm. It has not been an easy road because it's hard to make that behavioral shift. But we do have farmers that have adopted some of these practices. We know that it's going to take time, it's going to take a lot of effort. But Yakshe has been supporting farmers in giving them that technical support and in tools so that it becomes necessary for them to make that shift.
And a part of that shift is to introduce farmers to smart agricultural practices. On Friday, Yashe Conservation Trust, with the support of the European Nature Trust, took 10 farmers from the Maya Golden Landscape to Blancanu Lodge in the Mountain Pine Ridge. The visit took the farmers to this 4-acre plot of organically grown fruits, vegetables, and herbs. From start to finish, a team of 6 from Blancanu Lodge works on this garden using only natural resources to grow healthy produce that supplies about 80% to their property.
As you could see, our garden is organic, and we stray completely away from conventional gardening, which was something very difficult for us to have done. But we have been able to master it over the past 10 years that we've been doing this. We do a lot of composting. Our stables, which we have 21 horses, all the manure has been brought in from there. Our landscapers would trim all the vegetation, and that is brought back to the garden, and then it's composted. Likewise, our kitchen also participates heavily in this, where we collect all the eggshells, the coffee grinds, and all the peelings from the vegetables and fruits that we consume on a day-to-day basis. So then that comes back, and then that becomes soil, and then of course it goes right back again onto your table right from there.
And many of the techniques are new to farmer Pablo Salam of Medina Bank, but he says they're adaptable enough that he can do them. In his village, he has a backyard garden that provides for his family. For a few years now, he's been partnering with the Yashe Conservation Trust to learn more about sustainable agricultural practices.
The backyard garden is just for my family, but I want to learn to expand more, but due to the pests and other different diseases that affect the farm, especially this time of challenges that we have with this pandemic. And I went back to my garden and start to improve more, because I have to provide for the family. What I've seen as different type of organism that they are using and adapt it to spray their farm due to the pest. That's why that's really affecting on my farm. But when I go back and practice it and then I will see the improvement on my farm, especially this coming time. So the greenhouse that they have, it's really improved, you know, and that's something new that I've seen. So I think we can start to work on greenhouses so that can get better product.
Carmela Juarez works with coconut growers in southern Belize, and he's also a small-scale farmer. His takeaway from this experience is the natural control of pests, something he says he's looking forward to implementing on his farm.
For me, I find challenges with control of pests and that sort of thing. I go to a manual that is provided by Baja. However, that is using chemicals. And so we want to go more organic. For example, aphids. You know, we do have aphids affecting the coconut plants. Also the garden, we have what we call the white flies. And, you know, the idea share here is great. I don't need to go to the agrovet place to buy chemicals. We have it. We need to know how to put it together to make it effective.
And that's what founder of this project, Paul Lister, wants, for these farmers to see the value in climate-smart and environmentally friendly farming practices that will not only conserve our natural resources, but also support their livelihoods when yields increase. Lister is a founder of the European Nature Trust, and he's championing traditional farmers' transition to sustainable farming practices in Belize.
Belize is one of those unique countries that has a very large percentage of its landscape is already protected and is covered in forest and vegetation, whether it be pine or hardwoods, and it's very unique. It's, I think, 65%, and that's something to be very proud of. But then there are countries like the UK and Denmark where we have nothing left. We've cut everything down over the imperialist past of Industrial Revolution, 2 world wars. We have nothing left of our forests. We've cut everything. Even the sleepers on railroads from Nairobi to Mombasa were made out of Scottish hardwoods. So when you're a British person and you understand that, and then you come to a place like Belize, which has got so much forest and so much native woodlands and mangroves and other beautiful landscapes, you tend to appreciate it more.
Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
Minister of Home Affairs Karim Musa, Minister of Sustainable Development Orlando Habet, and Minister of Border Security Florencia Marin did a helicopter flyover of the Chiquibul forest today. The 3 government ministers were accompanied by the Friends for Conservation and Development, who co-manages the forest. After the aerial tour of the protected area, Executive Director Rafa Manzanero spoke to the press about the purpose of the tour, as well as some of their needs to improve management of the area.
From the air, they were able to see more of the landscape perspective, and also to get a first-hand view about the issues that are occurring along the western border. So that was really more the purpose of the trip.
So what happens next in terms of how do we move forward after this trip?
Well, I mean, what we wanted really to project on this trip was basically for them really to look at the true conditions. So based on that, we would hope that the strategies that the government will employ will certainly go online to better securing the western border. We flew over the conservation posts, starting from Machakilha, which is in the Columbia River, and way up to the northernmost one, which is the Caballo Conservation Post. So from there, they got the angle about the incursions, agricultural farming, cattle ranching. So I am hoping that the strategy then can be much more on light to a true reality occurring on the ground.
And what is needed on the ground for greater, more positive progress? Because as I understand it, progress is being made in these areas.
I believe that we need really to have a much more efficient system on the ground. And that means, of course, for the joint forces operations, to have more of their mobilization capability, to be able to have much more better equipment. That includes, of course, the kind of the foot patrolling equipment and infrastructure that they will need. The conservation post is one of the strategies, so that's already there on the ground.
As you heard, the three ministers accompanied the FCD on the aerial tour of the Chiquibul forest. Orlando Habet, the Minister of Sustainable Development, which includes forestry and environment, was on the trip and spoke with the media about his observations and some preliminary actions to be taken.
We can see that the work that FCD has been doing has now paid off, and we see it continues to pay off, and in their being able to co-manage these vast landscapes for the government of Belize, for the people of Belize. A lot of the deforested areas where some of the incursions had occurred is now growing back into natural forest. You can see the difference in color where young shoots, young trees are coming up. We were able to visit the conservation posts that are there, almost close to the border, where they can do their patrols, both the rangers from FCD and or police and BDF. And also we have been told by FCD that the risks that were there before really no longer exist. So I believe that we are in a good position. We are talking to FCD because there are certain areas that we think that another co-management agreement can be formed between FCD and maybe other NGOs and the government of Belize, now to manage the larger landscape instead of only the Chiquibul.
Minister of National Defense and Border Security Florencio Marin declined to comment to the press. Effective tonight, the price of diesel at the pumps will increase by 46 cents. That takes the retail price of diesel to $9.20. Last week, the cost of regular gas went up by 51 cents and is now being sold at $9.78. The price for premium gas and kerosene remain unchanged. The government says that it will continue to monitor the price changes on the international market and work with the fuel industry to safeguard the pump prices paid by Belizean consumers. Coming up next, a family needs your help to locate their loved one. Millions tuned into the Super Bowl on Sunday, including many here at home who were glued to the TV screen to see one player in particular, Raheem Nunez Roches. He has roots in Belize, and so Belizeans were cheering him on. Nunez Roches is with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a defensive lineman, and his team defeated the Kansas City Chiefs. He says that the achievement of winning the Super Bowl goes beyond football this season. In a post-win interview, he told reporters that the strategy was simple. Everyone just has to do their job.
Everybody doing their job when they're supposed to. I mean, most of the credit goes to, Coach Bowles, because he got put us in the position to make those plays. But the guys just using their athletic ability to shine in big scenarios, with the picks every game, 4-5, flying around, 5-4, doing this thing. JPP and 5-8, rushing when they need to rush. And then the interior guys, Sue, Vita, Will, everybody getting back to the quarterback and disrupting them. So at any given, moment, it's just when your number's called, you do your job. And I feel like everybody on the defense is ready to play it every down and every time. Everybody got to be in the spot on our defense. And you just do that, you hold it down, and you execute. You don't really have to worry about too much. And that's what we did.
Dr. Giovanni Solorzano has been appointed as the new chair of the National AIDS Commission and Country Coordinating Mechanism. Dr. Solorzano's appointment was made effective on Wednesday, February 3rd. He succeeds former chair Laura Tucker Longsworth. Dr. Solorzano has more than 25 years in the medical field and has worked with the government since 1991. Currently residing in San Pedro town, Solorzano was once the maternal and family child health consultant with the Pan American Health Organization. He held the post of clinical director at the San Pedro Polyclinic II and as deputy director of health services at the KHMH. As the chair of NAC, Dr. Solorzano is tasked with coordinating, facilitating, and monitoring the national response to HIV/AIDS, which has been the committee's mission since its inception in February 2000. Most recently, the NAC drafted the Equal Opportunities Bill, which was never introduced at the House by the previous government due to an outcry from the churches and other sectors of society. Tonight, the family of Rafael Patrick Garrido is seeking the public's assistance in locating him. He was last seen on Wednesday, February 3rd. Before his disappearance, Garrido had made a trip to Orange Walk to conduct a business transaction. Garrido was dropped off at mile 31 on the Philip Golson Highway on their return, and since then, no one has heard from him. On Saturday, his family made an official missing person report, and a search team is out looking for him. Deputy head of the National Crimes Investigation Branch, Senior Superintendent Alberto Romero, updated the media this morning.
The information we have so far got is that he was dropped off at mile 31 on the Philip Golson Highway on Wednesday last, and he has not been seen since. At this time we are conducting an investigation and several searches are being made to try and locate him.
Does the family know what was his intended reason for being going to that location, sir?
Yeah, he was dropped off there by another person after they came from Orange Walk that day.
Okay, was it after work?
No, the investigation shows that they went to Orange Walk to conduct some sort of transaction, and then he was dropped off there by that male person thereafter.
The person that dropped him off, the police get in contact with him or
yes,
her to see?
He has been interviewed and a statement has been recorded from him.
Sir, is there any details as to what exactly they went to do in Orange Walk?
No, we will not release any details at this time. Other than that, we are conducting an investigation to find out what transpired.
After the break, a $100,000 donation of fabric from the Embassy of Taiwan.
In response to COVID-19,
United Nations High Commission for Refugees donated medical and personal COVID-19 protective equipment to the Valley of Peace Community Isolation Facility. The donation includes divider panels, bed sheets, pillows and covers, blankets, towels, hand soap and sanitizers, as well as cleaning supplies. According to the UNHCR, the supplies are to, quote, enhance access to health services, as well as to ensure essential and medical care for pre-existing conditions and reduce the risk among frontline health workers, unquote. This donation complements an earlier contribution to the community of Valley of Peace of beds and mattresses for the isolation facility and equipment for the health center delivered last October. Today, the Taiwanese embassy handed over 523 bales of fabric to the Ministry of Human Development, Families and Indigenous Peoples Affairs. It was a donation from the Taiwanese embassy in Belize at the cost of $94,602. The donation includes polyester, rayon, and spandex distributed to women's groups and entrepreneurs across the country by the Women and Family Support Department. The aim is to support the income-generating activities of women and entrepreneurs by providing an opportunity for the creation, marketing, and distribution of a variety of quality, authentic Belizean products made from the fabric. Present for the donations handing over were Minister Dolores Balderramas Garcia, Minister of State Gilroy Usher, Taiwanese Ambassador Bumas Lee Kwa Chan, and other representatives from the ministry. And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at News 5 Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.